Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to 8 Times Up Outdoors, the crappy YouTube channel with amazing Patreon swag. I am here. We're actually putting out a video. My name is Ty Gallenbeck, and Chris and I have been really bad about putting out content, but I've been doing these videos, these live streams with a group called the Flannel Panel on Wednesday nights, and they've been super fun. And so we decided to mix it up, try a live, see what happens. Chris is working, so he couldn't be here. So it's just me, and we're going to see how this goes. Mostly I'm going to be talking to people in the future, I hope, that actually tune in and listen to this. I don't know if anyone will watch the live or not, but we'll give it a shot. If you do tune in, make sure you click the subscribe button, all those things, like it, share it with your friends. I'm hoping we can present some really good information here. Chris and I are getting ready to head on our annual fishing trip up to Taylor Reservoir in Colorado. It's up above Gunnison, Colorado. This is a trip we've been going on for probably about the last 15 years. But in the last 3 or 4 years, as we kind of started 8 Times Up Outdoors and just got more serious with things, we kind of really took a deep dive into the fishing side of things and studying it more and looking at, all sorts of different things. And so we put together a game plan. We've been texting back and forth for the last, probably 6 weeks at least, about what we're going to try, where we're going to try it, all those kind of things. And so I'm going to try to walk through as many of those things that I can in kind of a shortish amount of time. We'll see how long it goes. If people are watching or asking questions, it may go longer. We'll see how that works. But I want to start with just talking about kind of the lake, the structure, what we know, what has worked in the past, and then we will jump into kind of the things that we're hoping to try that are newer things. So if technology cooperates here, let's take a look. So this is Taylor Reservoir behind me. It is one of my favorite places in Colorado for sure. And so we are going to be primarily targeting lake trout. It's fall lake trout season. This is the time of year that lake trout are starting to move towards spawning. They can spawn as early as late September, early October in Colorado. It really just depends on how cold it gets and when it starts getting cold. And we're actually anticipating at this point, because of the temperatures that we're going to be looking at here, that the lake trout are going to be just kind of staging and not be in full-on spawn mode yet, which can be good because they're a little more active sometimes and focused on eating a little more than maybe they would be if they were just focusing on the spawn. So here's what we're going to be looking at. First of all, what has worked in the past. So I'm going to come over here and show if I can get this to work. Maybe there it goes. A couple of things on this map. So a few things of note at Taylor Reservoir. One, this point that comes out here, this is called Bull Point, and it historically gets kind of shallow. You can even see in this Google image how it kind of gets shallow out here. Well, with the water levels in Colorado, it has gotten shallower way out into the center. And so even in this area where you feel like you're in the center of the lake, there's spots where it's down to 15 feet of water out there. And so there is a hump right out here, kind of in the middle, where it'll go from about 70 feet up to 30 feet, maybe even shallower, depending on how low the reservoir is. And so that historically has been a place that a lot of people target lake trout. And we have had a lot of success kind of trolling around those spots. And I'll go through more specific gear on what we're using when we troll here in just a second, but want to talk about locations right now. So we would traditionally kind of start here, go around the point, and then the next place that we go is further down here. So as the spawn has started, the lake trout will start moving up towards kind of some rocky shores that are up here on the edge closer to the dam. And so a lot of those fish will sit in like 60 to 80 feet of water off of those rocky shores, waiting to go up on top of them for the spawn. And so there's a few spots right in here. There's a channel that runs from the Taylor Inlet of the river, and if you could draw almost a straight line to the dam, that's kind of the deepest part of the lake. And so off of that, you'll find these areas where it's 80 to 90 feet of water, but you have fish that are suspended in 40, 50, 60 feet of water. And so a lot of times we'll start to target trolling just down that channel off to those two edges where it starts to come up, to see where we can start to find those fish and how far up towards the dam they've started to move, which can be super helpful and in a way of locating kind of where those fish are at in that progression towards their spawn. And so that's kind of the two biggest areas that we'll be targeting for trolling. If we don't find anything there, there's lots of lake, but historically those have been two of our biggest spots. And when we're trolling, there's a few things that we've found that have been super efficient this time of year, fall lake trout fishing at Taylor. One of them, so I did something really, really good here. I planned this live and then went to grab all the gear to be able to show people what we actually use, because I hate the people that are like, yeah, we just troll. And then you know, that could mean a lot of things. And then I realized all of my trolling gear and all of my gear is on my boat that I had to take to the shop because we found a fuel leak and had to get it fixed. So I'll still try to walk through as much as I can and show you a couple of things that I still had on stock or that I had bought new to have extras for this year. But hopefully, if you have any questions, ask, feel free. We want to try to help people have fun out there. And so we'll be as open as we possibly can with some of this stuff. So one of the first things, this for the last probably 2 or 3 years has been absolutely money. So this is the Buoyant. I believe it's a 1/4 ounce spoon. And this color specifically, I think they call it some sort of like fluorescent red, or if you're ordering it, I believe that's the color that they call it. But this particular color has been absolutely dynamite. We pair this a lot of times with a orange Dodger, probably about a 6 or 7 inch Dodger that kind of matches that color scheme. And that has caught every kind of fish in the lake almost. But when you troll it down at like 40 to 60 feet, depending on where you start to see fish, that has by and far been one of the lures that catches the most lake trout. And I'm not talking, we're not catching 40 inchers or anything like that. But we'll catch 14 to 26 inch fish all the time on that lure in that setup. And so a lot of times that's something I'm going to run on a downrigger. And I'll usually run 2 of them when we first start, just because we know it's something that's usually going to create action and help us find the fish faster. So we'll run one at 40 and one at 50, or one at 50 and one at 60 on the downriggers, trying to figure out where those fish are at initially, because we know if they see that, they will bite on that. That's number one. That's by and far the most successful lure we've had over the last couple of years as we've been doing this. The second one we've had a lot of luck with is the blue and white jointed Rapalas. And this is one of those that they're all on the boat. And so I can't show you exactly what they are, but they're bright blue on the back, jointed, and everything from the smaller, probably 3.5 inch varieties up to like a 5 inch variety. And those we've been running on cowbells or pop gear, whatever you want to call it, on the lead core line. And so we'll drop those down. I like running the pop gear on the lead core line because I feel like it gets you a little more weight and helps it get down there a little faster. And so we'll run those somewhere around 40 or 50 foot depth, just depending on how fast we're trolling at. But that blue jointed Rapala has been another one that consistently has been landing lake trout and getting lake trout in the boat over the last couple of years. And so that kind of strategy, the trolling and trying to figure out where the fish are at, how far moved up into this channel they are, is going to be how we start. And so Chris and I get there a week from today. And actually by this time, I hope we're kind of turning at Almont and headed up towards the reservoir right about now so that we can get set up and settled in on next week. And then by Wednesday morning, this is kind of the strategy we'll probably start with, is just immediately trying to figure out where the fish are at. And trolling is such a good way to kind of cover a lot of ground and start to figure out where those fish are at, depending on water temperatures, and kind of seeing where that stuff is at. So that's what we know works. That's givens. We're going to do that. If we're struggling with anything else, this will be our default mode that we go back to. The other places we'll hit a lot of times is this entire edge down here. Is great for trolling. You got to stay far enough out that you're not getting, because there's a couple of spots in here, and I'll actually pull this up a little bit more, that you can see where things start to get real shallow real fast on those edges. And so at this time of year, those lake trout are starting to move up those shorelines, which can be super fun to catch them. But it can make it challenging if you're trolling, because you can change depths a lot quicker than when you're out in the deeper water. And so it's a given that you're going to lose gear at first if you're not really careful. So we'll be doing that. We'll be checking out this shoreline. And like I said, that hump that's out in the middle of the lake, which my Humminbird fish finder has it marked on it. And so I know Chris's fish finder, but just know it's kind of out there in the center, just out from kind of Bull Point is what they call it. We got to zoom out more here. So out from this point, kind of in this area where the Google logo is at, there's a super shallow spot. That's usually where we'll go around one lap around that first, and then start heading up this channel trying to find fish. So that's what we know works. Now the fun stuff, at least in my mind. Our goal for the last few years really has been, how do you get on one of these monster lake trout? And we've been studying and watching every video I think we can find on YouTube. Spend a lot of time watching Superior Angling. There's some great stuff from a guy called Colorado Fisherman. And just any of these little lakes, there's some stuff from Granby. There's not a lot done specifically on Taylor for these fish. And what I think we've learned over the last 3 years is it's just not as easy as it looks for some of these guys. We have tried a ton of stuff. One of the things that if you've studied or watched or gone down the lake trout rabbit hole at all, is one of the things that people swear by and go to as their way for catching lakers is jigging. They'll get into the deep water where the lakers are at and just get right above them and jig for those fish. Well, Chris or I have not really had the equipment to do that up until the last few years. And I have no history personally of jigging. The only fish I've ever caught jigging is ice fishing. And I only did that a couple of years ago. And so that is not something I'm familiar with. It is something I haven't tried to learn entirely in the last few years. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing on a ton, is kind of trying to get that dialed in and see if we can crack the code on what it takes to jig for some of these lakers up at Taylor Reservoir. So I got to go up a couple weeks ago, early September, took my 2 daughters up there. We got to do some fishing. And part of what I was doing was just trying to scout some locations for structure that I thought may be good come October to try to find some of these lakers. And so one of the spots, I'll try to show this to you guys if this works. There we go. So if you head up to Taylor, there is a road, there's a parking spot that's kind of up in this area. And then there's an old road that goes down here that can get a little sketchy depending on weather. So just be careful if you decide to head down that road. Just word of warning, I got stuck there in some snow once. So be careful on that. But there's a little point that comes out here. And then just around here on this corner, the last time I was up there, I also found another hump that is kind of out a little further in the water. It was about a 40-foot change in depth out there. And I noticed while I was kind of cruising around in that corner that there was a ton of fish already stacked up on that point. And so for me, that's a point that I think that will be one of the first places because it's kind of in that hot zone for where the Lakers should be headed that time of year. And because of the kind of structure that it is, I'm really hoping to see that that's kind of a place where we see a bunch of fish kind of stacked up and kind of staging before they move to that spawn. And so we'll be trying some jigging kind of in that location. Cheers, y'all. Tight lines, cool cans. The problem with doing these lives by yourself is you just got to, I feel like I got to talk nonstop. Like I don't have anyone to fill in the gaps here. So we've got at least one person tuned in, so I don't know who's watching, but thank you. That's appreciated. Ian. So Ian, of course, Ian is one of our Patreon supporters out of Canada. Great dude. We are definitely planning on heading up to Canada to try to do a fishing trip with Ian at one of these points. So that'll be super fun. So this is one of those locations that I'm going to be targeting for jigging. And then kind of all along in this area, once we figure out where the fish are at, trying to find larger groups of those lake trout that are down in that 60 foot depth to see if we can just get on those fish. I'm super excited. I'll have spot lock and down imaging on my boat for the first time ever up there for this trip. And so I'm really excited to kind of try to utilize that for this jigging. One of the things we've struggled with is a lot of times when we're up there earlier in the season, those fish are in 100 foot of water. And so it's hard if you don't have spot lock or something like that to get on top of those fish. So that'll be fun to try to do that. For equipment for jigging, I mean, we're going to try everything. We're throwing kind of everything we have at them. I ordered some of these. I'll pull these up here. These lake trout jigs from Shields, I think is how you say it, SCHEEL. I was able to order some of these. These are big 5-inch tube jigs that are set up. And I mean, everything I've researched, everything I've studied, all the guys you talk to, they swear by the white tube jigs for going after Lakers. And so I've got a bunch of those rigged up to take and kind of target some of those bigger fish. Another thing that I've seen the guys on Superior Angling do a lot, and I have a few different sizes of these, but kind of these plastic swim baits that you can use along shore. So this isn't necessarily something we'll be jigging with, but if we start to see that those fish, I don't know if hopefully y'all can still hear me. My earplugs just shut off, and so I don't know what's going on there. All right. But hopefully we can, if we start to find some of those fish in the shallower areas along the edge of the lake, we'll be able to kind of target throwing some of those plastic swim baits along those rocks, going towards the bottom, and then kind of reeling them up from there. The other thing I got, see if I can show you guys some of these, just some of the bigger, lead jigging spoons like this. This is all new to me. I've used some of the smaller ones for ice fishing and things like that. But this is going to be a totally new strategy for me, trying to just drop these straight down on top of lake trout. I tried the last time I was out to do a little bit of jigging, but I've kind of quickly figured out most of the gear that I had was just too light. It took forever to get it down to the depths that I was spotting all the fish at. And so by the time I got down there, I felt like most of the time they'd moved on. So I'm hoping some of these bigger 1 ounce, ounce and a half, 3/4 ounce jigging spoons will help us get down there quicker when we're able to find those fish and get on top of those. So jigging is one of the things that we'll definitely be trying that I don't know if it'll work, but I'm excited to. We'll probably target the 2 spots. The one that I told you is down by the road, and then that hump that's off of Bull Point. If we notice there's a lot of fish out there, that's a great spot to try to get some of the lake trout to come after a jig. And so we'll be doing those 2 things. The last thing I'll say, when we started doing this, we had no boats. And so if you are, getting into lake trout fishing, or you're headed up to Taylor and in the fall, this is the perfect time to try to be fishing at Taylor Reservoir from the shore and actually have a good shot of catching lake trout. And so I'll pull this back up a little bit more zoomed in. So we've had a ton of success, and it's not just us. I saw the Colorado fisher. He posted a video. I think he was at Granby using Castmasters, which Chris and I joke all the time. If nothing's working, put on a silver Castmaster. And at Taylor, that seems to be, you will catch something. It may just be a rainbow, but if you need to get the skunk off, a silver Castmaster will always work. But one of the things we have found in the last few years, and early on, one of the things that really got us excited about lake trout fishing is during this fall season, you can come all along this rocky shore here. And there's a couple of hiking trails that go down right by the dam there. They're super steep. I busted myself and messed up a vertebrae and all that stuff. So be careful going down those trails. But there's some great trails that can get you down there by the shore. And during this time of year, you can catch a bunch of lake trout just casting off that kind of side of the rocky shore there, using the silver Castmasters or gold Castmasters. Those are a great method for that. The other thing last year we learned is I had some bigger versions of these and kind of the more silver sparkly version. I don't remember what they call them as far as their technical name, but using those off of the shore was also working last year. I just lost the light. This is going fantastic. We got audio dumping, but we'll be all right. I'm almost done here. So that is another thing you can do if you want to just try to get into some lake trout, going along that shoreline and casting big spoons. The same, this one as well will work great off that kind of shoreline this time of year. You're not going to catch any monsters probably, but you can catch a lot of 18 to 24 inch lake trout off the side of that shore there. And if it's your first taste of lake trout fishing or your first time fishing at Taylor, it'll be something that kind of ignites that fire in you, or if you will, to really want to pursue more of that. I know that's how it happened for us. We were actually, the first time we kind of started this, there's some salmon that will kind of spool up and spawn up in here. And we were trying to get after the salmon and they were just too far out from shore. But as we were trying to cast out to them, as we were reeling in, we started to catch some of the lake trout along this side. And that's kind of what sparked a lot of this for us. So I hope this was somewhat informative. If you have questions, put them in the comments. Again, I didn't expect a lot of people to be on the live. It's something we're trying out new here. But hopefully this is informative. Ask questions in the comments. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe, share. We're going to try to not be as crappy of a YouTube channel and actually still put out some good content here. I'm hoping we can do a recap video or two after the trip next week and get some fun guests on here as well. And then, of course, if you want to get the great swag, go to Patreon, search for 8 Times Up Outdoors over there. That is the one thing I think we do really well. Oh, this is fantastic. Don't use battery-powered lights. No. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's not much better. But we're signing off here. This is awesome. Patreon.com outdoors, 8 Times Up Outdoors. One of the things I think we do well is sending out some really great gear to anybody that's supporting us. We've had some tactical backpacks, cool Yeti mugs, different lures. Not all of it's fishing gear. We've got hats, t-shirts, hoodies, all those kind of things. We're just making up a new batch of hats here soon. And so those will be kind of coming out in the next quarter or so. We try to send out something every quarter if possible. So check that out. I'm going to get some cords to plug the lights in for next time. But until then, hey, thank you guys for watching. Ian, you're the man. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, tight lines, cool cans. We'll see you guys later.